Yo, what's going on? I always got to check to make sure my mic working properly. What's going on, everyone? I'm Marcus. I appreciate you all tuning into this video. I was pretty much MIA for like a week because I had to have like all four of my wisdom teeth pulled, and yeah, it wasn't really that crazy, but like, bro, I like oatmeal and cream and wheat just as much as the next guy, but it's kind of getting ridiculous. And so I had the swollen face and the whole now. But I was like, you know what? It's not that bad today. Let's go ahead, jump in, talk about a video. Here we do attorney reactions to current events, trending news. This video, we're going to actually focus on the DMV area. We got a lot of most of our stories are actually out of DC, one in Virginia across the bridge, and one in Baltimore, and a few others sprinkled in. If you get some value out of this content, you hear something you like, I definitely invite you to subscribe to the channel, hit the like button, share, hit the dislike button. We appreciate any and all interactions. A round of applause to everybody who support, and a big salute to all of the channel members as well. Now, this first story is just a recap of a story that we all know about, we all heard about. It's involving a deputy and Sonya Massey, and we all are familiar with the video footage. This guy, anyone who saw the video knew that this guy was guilty as hell. Let's take a look, see how this thing played out now that it was finalized. Now that the trial was finalized, let's go ahead and jump in.
On the air, because our ABC station WLS is reporting there is a verdict in the Sonya Massey police shooting trial in Illinois. A jury has just found former deputy Sean Grayson guilty of second-degree murder.
That is an outstanding verdict, and one that, I mean, just objectively looking at the footage, that's clearly the right decision. I know a lot of times the justice system, it doesn't get it correct according to what some people may think, but this is a situation where it played out. He, of course, tried to utilize a self-defense argument that was absolutely ridiculous. If you're familiar with this video, body cam footage that we all saw contradicted his claim of self-defense. His partner also testified against him during the trial, and the jury found that the use of force was excessive and unjustified. Generally, use of force for police standards measured by a case Graham versus Connor is an objectively reasonable standard. No threat of death, severe bodily harm, no protecting someone who had those assertions. There will likely be a civil suit based on this. And there is some federal civil rights exposure. 18 USC, I think it's 242, allows for individual to be prosecuted for deprivation of rights. So long story short, this verdict shows that the jury wasn't falling for some weak-ass self-defense claim. Laws were actually changed by the legislature in this state based on this officer's piss-poor conduct. And the evidence really made it clear that the force was unreasonable. So this is actually a great story because the outcome was the correct outcome based on the facts. What's going on, everybody? I appreciate you tuning in. AA Legal Focus, thank you for the support. Appreciate you tuning in. MTH, thank you. Appreciate you for tuning in as well. Again, glad that this outcome worked out the way that it was. But yeah, it was terrible. I don't even want to play the video footage because playing the video footage, YouTube would be like, oh, let's just demonetize this video. But if you take a look, just Google Sonya Massey body cam footage. It's maybe about a 2-minute video clip. It was pretty terrible. This was the right decision. Now let's talk a little bit about, let's go to DC. Let's talk about some national news that's going on. Hey, I'm right in the middle of this because I ain't got no job. I'm furloughed just like a lot of federal workers. I think it's 750,000 federal workers. Some are deemed essential, so they are working and actually not getting compensated, which is a whole nother problem in and of itself. But let's take a look at something federal, pivot to the next story. Let's go ahead and jump in.
to Washington Bureau as the government shutdown approaches a fifth week. Pressure ramping up on lawmakers to reopen the government. Washington correspondent Kristen Eskow joins us live with the latest. And Kristen, food assistance remains in jeopardy. What more can you tell us about that?
Now, y'all let me know. Like I'm kind of up there. Okay, I'm not a spring chicken, so to speak. But normally, like crazy stuff happen, or we'll have one major economic thing that kind of comes to a head, then is resolved, then things kind of level out. But this is the first time that I've seen like multiple economic issues all just converging at one point in space and time to make things kind of ridiculous. We got the SNAP program that's going to run out of money on Saturday. So I think 42 million people who get benefits. A vast majority are seniors, disabled veterans, and children won't have access to those benefits. The White House like, yo, we're not moving no money around to fund this thing. In addition to that, we have federal employees who are furloughed and aren't getting a paycheck. This week coming up will be paycheck number 2 of a second fully missed paycheck. And just speaking in terms of District of Columbia, DC has the most people who live paycheck to paycheck of any city in the nation, according to studies, the last study that I saw. So we got SNAP program falling apart. Federal employees are not getting paid, TSA. Military getting paid, but we don't know how long. In addition to that, I don't know if you all seen it. I think I got one video, but healthcare costs are getting crazy. I seen people who were paying $500 a month, and that shit going up to $2,300 a month when they show what their new fees are going to be for the 2026 calendar year. So on top of all that, we got the private sector, Amazon, UPS, are laying off tens of thousands of workers. Every time I looked at my timeline, I looked at my timeline on like LinkedIn, and I just saw I was a part of the 30,000 cut by Amazon. And these just weren't no people who were getting cut who were, in the shipping department. No, these were senior level executives, senior engineers, attorneys. So it's just a lot going on at one given point in time that's just kind of making things crazy. Yeah. Hey, that's a blessing if you got like one spouse, like in the private sector. But there's a lot of people who both spouses are in the government. You hit the nail on the head, though. I think the biggest thing is, you got to be prepared and try to prepare yourself for times like these. Lower your expenses and try to stack away as much as you could, because we are clearly seeing nobody really give a damn. Nobody really give a damn about people out there except the people who are actually going through it. Politicians are not looking like, on either side, not looking like they're giving a damn, in my personal opinion. So let's go and see what's going on with the SNAP benefits. I'll give my take on how I think this will play out. Let's go and finish up this video.
That's right, David. Good morning. So the U.S. Department of Agriculture does not plan to use a contingency fund for SNAP benefits. So that means at this point, those benefits will not go out come November. But that's not the only pressure point lawmakers are facing right now. A federal workers union is now speaking out as those employees continue to go without paychecks. The nation's largest union of federal workers says it's time for the shutdown to end. The American Federation of Government Employees, which represents more than 800,000 people, says Congress needs to pass a short-term funding bill immediately.
That bill, with 5 courageous Democrats stepping forward and helping us pass it, could be on the president's desk, signed into law, and this government reopens.
But so far, Democrats are holding firm in their health care demands.
Republicans.
All right, let me do a quick poll. Everybody in the chat, like, who are we? What side are we blaming for this? Do you think this is a Republican fault thing? Do you think it's a Democrat fault thing? I'm kind of. I mean, I guess the short answer will be to kind of blame both of them. But I don't know. Maybe this is just me. Generally, let's just say let's say I do agree that it's more Republicans, because this is just my logic. If you need my vote to do something, this is just me. If you need my vote to do something that you want to do, why would I just give it to you and you don't give me anything for it? Like, I don't know. I feel like just at the basic fundamental level, like, yeah, a lot of people are like, oh, Democrats could have signed off on it. Then we could have negotiated everything else. One, when it started, I said it was going to be 4 to 6 weeks. I knew it was going to beat the 35-day record. So I'm expecting somewhere between November 15th to the 21st. That bill that they passed in the House, it was set to lapse on the 21st. It would have extended things from the end of the fiscal year to November 21st. So they're going to have to come back to the drawing board, in my personal opinion. But my logic is, I just think if you need my vote to get something done, I'm not giving it to you for free. Like, I mean, I understand it sucks. I know people should be getting paid. I understand the hardship. I actually think both sides are kind of leveraging the economic harm that people are going to go through, hoping it tilts in their favor. But at the end of the day, if you want to vote for somebody, I mean, I guess normally in the past, Democrats would just give up their vote for nothing because they kind of goofy. But I feel like now they caught a lot of flack. Everybody was calling Chuck Schumer an envelope last time because he just folded like Democrats typically do. And so I think they're trying to stand on business on this one. Yeah, I agree. And that's the big takeaway, though. Like, I had this debate on somebody. I get in debates online sometimes. We were talking about SNAP benefits, and I said, man, this is actually crazy because red states, Republican states use SNAP benefits at a very high margin. And someone was like, California has the most people on the program. I was like, yeah, but they have the most people in their state, but that's neither here nor there. But I looked at like the top 10 states. It was a lot of Republican states in there when you're talking about the percentage of their population who uses SNAP. And it was at an 18 to 20% clip. West Virginia, Louisiana was in there. I think, was it Alabama or Mississippi? It was just a lot of those states in there. So I don't think that there's no way you can say, like, oh, okay, nothing's happening, but this side is going to feel the pain. Everybody's about to be fucked, pretty much. People who don't have people who don't have the economic resources are all just going to struggle, and it's kind of fucked up. There's a failure on both sides. But I do generally agree, like, if I'm going to give you my vote that you need, you have to give me something for it. Otherwise, what's the point of giving it to you for nothing? And as you can start seeing, I don't know if you'll see it or not, show the video, the healthcare issue is actually a legit issue. It's not really just some fake issue that was made up. All right, let's go ahead and finish this video.
Prefer to shut the government down over working with Democrats to extend the ACA tax credits.
Meanwhile, as food banks assist some federal workers, they're also preparing for a surge in demand. The USDA says it will not distribute SNAP benefits on November 1st, which could impact roughly 40 million people. The Trump administration does not plan to use a SNAP contingency fund, which holds between $5 and $6 billion.
The administration's decision to let SNAP freeze is callous, is cynical, and entirely unnecessary.
I think the big takeaway on this story is if you need some assistance, make your way to, there are places that have resources available, especially if you're like a furloughed federal worker. They have they're giving away free meals to federal workers. They have food banks that are targeting federal workers and employees who have been laid off or furloughed. If you show your government ID, if you still have a government ID, do not be too proud to get assistance if you need it. That's what it's actually there for. But this is actually just a big fucked up thing across the board. Damn, I want to see if I find it. It was a TikTok video. I just talked it through. It was a TikTok video talking about the healthcare subsidies. And it was a Democratic congressman. I can't think of the guy's name because he probably goofy anyway, but it's a Democratic congressman and he was showing a plan under the Affordable Care Act that was $500 a month in 2025, and then the exact same plan in 2026 was like $2,300 a month. And then he said something that was actually incorrect information. He actually said the reason for these costs is going up is because of President Trump's big beautiful bill, which is actually incorrect. So I wanted to just kind of break down why are healthcare costs going up. Now, it is true the big beautiful bill does have some things in it that are probably going to cause healthcare costs to go up. Those things have not taken effect yet. So any cost that you see on people on TikTok showing their healthcare premiums doubling, tripling, quadrupling, is not because of the big beautiful bill just yet. It's because of two things. One, people's healthcare costs under the Affordable Care Act could potentially have anywhere from a 5 to 18% increase just because things increase every year. So 18% could potentially be just a regular increase. The remaining increase that's getting it to these double and triple the previous amounts of the premiums for 2025 is because when the Affordable Care Plan, Obamacare, was created, they knew that healthcare was expensive as fuck. So they had subsidies that, hey, these subsidies would pay a large portion of the coverage for people who get coverage through the Affordable Care Act. Well, what happened at some point during the Biden administration, because of the Inflation Reduction Act and all of those bills and COVID, there were an extension of those benefits. So Biden extended those subsidies for the Affordable Care Act to go to the end of this year. So the actual reason for the inflated cost of health insurance, it's not because of the big beautiful bill, even though the bill has some stuff in it that could potentially, likely, will make healthcare costs go up, but it's because the natural increase in rates over the year, but it's because the expiring subsidies that were initiated by Obama that was extended by President Biden are set to lapse. So that's the reason. So some people are blaming the big beautiful bill. I just wanted to explain it so anybody watching, y'all will know exactly what is going on. But the shit is ridiculous. I mean, just left and right, fucked up stuff is happening. So I'll actually, I think what I'll do is actually, I got somebody send it to me. It's like a resource that people have, is a list of resources and websites that you can go to if you need like food assistance or things like that. And I'll actually put it in the description to this video. Since we are in DC, let's continue to stay in DC and talk about what's going on. Now, this was the one thing that I was concerned with federal law enforcement coming to DC. Now, it could be a plethora of things going on, but generally, when you have federal law enforcement, they go down to Quantico and get their training, and they get trained in use of force and all of these things, probable cause, and all of this stuff, right? And you got everybody's down there, FBI, DEA, they all go down there to do their basic training boot camp for their special agents. But one of the things that I said early on when this started, I was like, yo, so far I didn't have any issues with it. But some federal agents, even though they all get training on the use of force, it's actually different when you're applying use of force, constitutional rights in the civilian world versus use of force when you're talking about like Customs and Border Patrol. So one of my biggest fear was that you have a federal agent interacting in a city environment. Are they effectively able to use the proper use of force spectrum as needed? Let's take a look at this video. It's a federal agent. Shots were fired at an individual who was stopped over a tenant window. Luckily, nobody was deleted. Nobody was hit. But it's getting bad. It's not looking good. Let's take a look and see what's going on.
Lawyers for a DC man who was shot at by a federal agent during a traffic Stop earlier this month are now demanding answers and transparency from police and the mayor's office. They claim that there was a cover-up of that shooting. Fox 5's Bob Barnard with the story.
Okay, cover-ups of use of force incidents. I don't know how you really prove that at this stage. We'll talk about the body cam footage, information law, the ability to get access to that. But I think that's a little bit premature to say it was a cover-up. Not saying cover-ups aren't possible, because they happen, unfortunately, all the time.
The lawyers and activists we heard from today are calling on D.C. Mayor Muriel Bowser to end MPD's working relationship with federal agents and its cooperation with the Trump administration. The case they're highlighting happened 11 days ago in the 3900 block of Benning Road Northeast. 33-year-old Philip Brown was pulled over by D.C. police working with federal agents for having heavily tinted windows. During the traffic stop, police say Brown's car rolled at officers. MPD says an agent with HSI, Homeland Security Investigations, fired at least 3 shots at the car.
Okay, now they're talking about the police report. There's going to be a big discrepancy that is about to come up. So hence the reason why they're probably saying y'all fudging this. All started because of someone had illegal tint. It was a little too dark. And it ended up leading to shots being fired and going through the seat.
Missing Brown. As you can see in these photos, 2 of the bullets hit the front passenger seat, which was empty. Criminal charges against Brown were dropped.
Okay, that is very, 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 very important that the criminal charges were dropped. That definitely goes in Mr. Brown's favor. If there were criminal charges that were not dropped and he was subsequently charged and or convicted on, it could provide more facts to make whatever the actual outcome, this shooting, more reasonable. The fact that the charges were dropped, that's a great thing. That means the charges were dropped because he didn't even get a citation for having the window tint. So if he didn't get a citation for the window tint, why the fuck was he even stopped in the first place? Generally, if you pull somebody over, most officers are trained. If you pull somebody over, have a legit reason to pull them over, and you need to issue a citation. If you pull somebody over, some shit like this happens, and no citations, no crimes are charged, those charges are dropped. This happened 11 days ago. So the fact that they haven't moved forward with any charges in 11 days, great news on the side of the plaintiff in this case.
Now his lawyers say they want any police body-worn camera footage released and the federal agent who took the shots charged. They're also claiming MPD tried to cover up the shooting because there's no mention of shots being fired in the initial police report.
Okay, now this is actually big. This is the reason why they're screaming, hey, some shady stuff is going on. Shots were fired. There's no shots mentioned in the police report. Now, this is actually going to be interesting because typically when law enforcement officers make a stop, they got body cam footage. You aren't going to get any of it. Why aren't you going to get any of it? Because most of the times that body camera footage is associated with an investigation. So there's a law enforcement exception to the Freedom of Information Act. The general rule is if there's some information out there, the government has to give it to me unless one of these things prohibits the government from giving it out. One of those is, I think at the federal level, is exemption 7A through F, if I'm not mistaken. But those are the law enforcement exemptions. If certain law enforcement aspects apply, you will not get the body-worn camera footage. So generally, if I saw something like this happen, I would say, they probably aren't going to get the body-worn camera footage. The reason they aren't going to get it is because it was associated as a law enforcement function. It was associated with an investigation. But remember, they said all the charges were dropped. So if all the charges were dropped, it's no longer tied to an active law enforcement investigation. So now what would be a reason that they could potentially withhold the body camera footage if there's no active investigation going on. So you can't use that law enforcement exemption to withhold it. You could withhold certain things if there's some potential nexus to litigation. Now, his attorneys have other means to be able to get it through discovery if lawsuits are filed, but actually just demanding that they turn over this information through like a Freedom of Information Act or just a public disclosure is probably not going to happen, because the same way they have exemptions where the government don't have to turn over information if it's the law enforcement investigation, is the same reason that they don't have to turn it over if there's some nexus to potential litigation, because you don't want to put something out there that could bias the jury, that could bias either the plaintiff or the defense. And I think a perfect example of this, you all heard the story of the border czar, Tom Homan, who allegedly took a $50,000 bribe from an FBI undercover in exchange that he could get some preferential favor from the Trump administration. And the FBI actually closed the investigation. And that was probably the dumbest thing that they could have done. If they were smart, they would have just left that investigation open and still been just looking into it. Because if that investigation was open, the law enforcement exemption would apply and they would be barred from giving out that information. Now that the FBI came out and said, we closed that investigation. Dummy, now you just lost a good justification why you could withhold the information. So they probably aren't going to get the information through a Freedom of Information Act request. More likely than that, it's going to have to go through the actual litigation process, and they're going to have to get it through discovery and civil litigation is more likely than that. Shout out to everybody who Schumann needs a punishment. Shout out to everybody too who joined the chat. Let's go and finish this up so we can get into the next video.
We have no evidence or information whatsoever about who these officers are and if they are still patrolling these streets, if they are still on the force, if they still have a weapon. And so this is a very serious community issue that needs to be addressed now.
You cannot be a part of a Make America Safe initiative when you're shooting at unarmed people in a routine traffic stop. The feds aren't making D.C. streets safer. They're making them more dangerous.
Mayor Bowser's office today issued a no comment about all this, but D.C. police say there was never a cover-up of the shooting. They say an internal affairs investigation of the shooting began that night. An MPD says because the gunfire did not involve one of its officers, they're not required to release, without a court order, any body-worn camera video. Those lawyers and activists are also calling on D.C. Councilmember Brooke Pinto to look into all of
that's actual another point, and that's a good point too. When you have these, I don't know how this federalization of DC is actually structured. What normally happens is you'll have a federal task force, so you'll have like FBI agents, DEA agents, I don't know, HHS agents. If it's a doctor doing some pill stuff and passing out oxycodone like candy or something like that. But normally you'll have all these federal agents, and then they'll task local agents like DC cops, Chicago cops, whatever, to work on their task force, since they know the lay of the land. So when these task forces are formed, normally there's agreements in place so that when a use of force situation happens, the federal agency who's kind of leading that task force is the one who's the holder of all of that information. With this federalization thing, I don't know if there's an actual agreement, a memorandum of understanding between the parties. So it actually is plausible, MPD's point, that, hey, this is not a formalized federal task force. And because of that, we don't maintain the body-worn camera footage of a federal officer. That's maintained through another agency and another database that we don't have access to. So that's actually a legit point that they made. Bottom line, they aren't going to see any of that shit until a lawsuit is actually filed. It's my guess.
She chairs the council's public safety committee. Her office says she is disturbed by these allegations and will definitely investigate.
Yeah, and I would like to know a little bit more just about the facts in general. Like, okay, they said that this guy car like rolled forward. Like, what do they mean it rolled forward? How did it roll forward? What is his position? It's good that his attorneys aren't disclosing any of this because you want to keep all of that shit close to the vest. But it is something that causes and leads to some questions. Now, this federalization of D.C. was supposed to make D.C. one of the safest places in the nation. And unfortunately, that ain't it. Crime decreased for a little while. Then it just says, you know what? Crime going to just do what it do, and it's going to go ahead and go back on the rise. So let's take a look at this next story, because this story ties in to our theme where we're staying in the DMV, the D.C., Maryland, and Virginia area. But this story also talks about something that we've talked about before. Criminal offenses perpetrated by youngsters, young adults, juveniles, not young adults, juveniles, and the lack of sanctions and or punishments, and how is the best method to proceed. Some people say they should be charged as adults. Some people say the parents should be held accountable. I think it could be a combination of all of those things. But let's check out this next story. This was in Northwest DC. It's just getting crazy out here. All these stories are recent. All these stories are recent too. This shit is wild. It's too many people at home. When people at home, food programs is about to dry up, people not getting paid. Ignorant stuff happens all the time, but sometimes there are things that could be catalysts for more ignorant shit happening. And that's kind of the situation that I think that we have right now. I think things are kind of going to just come to a head the longer the shutdown is, the longer benefits get dried up, the longer there's a risk for potentially not paying people in the military.
Also tonight, only on 7 News, he was ambushed, beaten, and now just grateful to be alive and okay. Tonight, 7 News talking with the first victim in a D.C. carjacking spree.
Because honestly, I've taken, I don't want to minimize it. I've taken harder punches than I was being punched.
All three of those carjackings Saturday night spanned just 4 hours within the same Northwest community.
This is ridiculous. 3 carjackings within 4 hours, all in the same place. Shout out to the guy who's doing the interview. He don't look as bad as how he's describing it.
We have reached out tonight to D.C. police, who say right now they are, quote, not in a position to link those offenses to the same suspects. The victim told our Liana Golden how he made it out of there mostly unscathed, and he also shares a message for his own neighbors.
I got hit in the face. I got hit in the back of the head.
J.P. Montalvan was met with a surprise when walking to his car Saturday night, and not the good kind.
There's probably 20 plus high schoolers.
20 plus high schoolers out here trying to whip a guy's ass to, like, one, thank God they were terrible at whipping ass, because 20 high schoolers, the way this guy looked, he actually looks like he got out by, like, hey, whatever he did to evade this situation and try to avoid it and minimize damages, he did a good job, because 20-something high schoolers typically will be able to fuck up one person. Like, that's a lot. That's a lot of people. So he looked like lucky for him, things ended up smoother. But again, high schoolers out late at night doing stupid shit.
Just going crazy.
He says the rowdy group surrounded him and started shaking the car, and even more violently.
The passenger side glass got bashed in. My glass shatters, so someone's kicked my glass in.
This attack happened here in the heart of Shaw, just across the street from the Kennedy Rec Center. And
now, I'm gonna be honest. Real quick, let's acknowledge. Hey, shout out. I appreciate you. Thank you for the super chat. Much appreciated. I gotta get all my effects in order. Thank you, sis. I appreciate it as well. Thank you. A big shot. I'm very appreciative of that. Everybody who support the content. I'm gonna be honest. This doesn't sound like a carjacking to me. It's 20-something fucking people. They all not going to get in the damn car. They were on the car, pushing the car, shaking the car. I think this was just a group of kids who want to just go out and fuck somebody up. That's personally what it was. Like, let's either fuck somebody up or scare the shit out of somebody. Like, again, to be 20 high school kids, this guy looked relatively unscathed. So I don't know if the direct goal of whatever it was an actual carjacking per se. Oh, oh, that's cool. I appreciate that. I need to get my merch game back up. I need to get my merch game back up.
Outside of this pet store, where an employee saw what was happening to JP and came to his rescue.
She started screaming. And I think at that point they started running away.
I live on this block. I work on this block. My child plays.
Good for her. Shout out to her for being a good civilian, a good citizen, a good Samaritan. Generally, this is just me. Generally, enter third party. If you want to intervene in a third party conflict, you do so at your own risk. We've seen it multiple times on the video on this channel where people are trying to be a good Samaritan. They intervene in a third party situation and it ends up in a very bad outcome for them. Luckily, this one ended up in a good outcome. He couldn't know at the time, but I don't think that this was necessarily a carjacking. I think it was more of kids just doing some knucklehead shit, maybe trying to whip somebody's ass, maybe trying to, whatever it was, something goofy. But I don't think it was like, yo, let's just all 20 of us whip this guy's ass and take this guy's car, because that should have been easy to do for a bunch of fucking high schoolers. The fact that she came out there and screamed, it probably was people in the area. They clearly didn't want to get caught. Again, not condoning it, because it's a high is a high likelihood that that type of conduct could end up getting somebody's child on a t-shirt.
On this street, I just wanted to be safe.
He says you deserve a lot of credit because you came outside and you helped him. Not everyone would do that.
No, it was just natural.
Pamela Davis saw the kids attacking JP, a man who luckily knows how to take a punch.
I've practiced martial arts, so I've taken blows before. I just wasn't prepared for this. You know, I wasn't sparring.
Knowing when to fight back, he argues, is more important.
It's not force meets force. It's how do you de-escalate and let things slow down.
He didn't hit any of those kids. He just wanted to get them away from him.
Shout out to him. I'd have been fucking those kids up. 20-something kids, high school kids. Yeah. Shout out to him. Thank God. Like, and you don't know. He could have done the right thing. That you don't know. These high school kids, they be strapped the hell up. So his level-headedness could have potentially saved his life. So shout out to him for having that level of wherewithal. And it's 20-something people. You can't fuck up 20-something high schoolers. I don't care how much you try. So drawing attention to it was something safe to do. A lot of times, a lot of use of force experts always recommend you should have something between a harsh word and a firearm. So what does that mean? Well, a harsh word, a firearm, what about in between? If somebody's fucking with me, or there is some threat, but it's not something that rises to a deadly use of force. So a lot of people recommend having like some type of pepper spray or something like that. Make sure if you're in a jurisdiction where you at, look up the laws, because certain places have really strict laws when it comes to the type, the quantity, the amount, the number of capsuloids, the strength of the pepper spray. So if you do want to have something in between a harsh word and a firearm to defend yourself, make sure you look up what's applicable and what's legal to use in your particular jurisdiction.
The two missed each other by a matter of minutes on Monday, but got to connect over FaceTime.
Thank you.
I was very concerned.
Yeah.
I'm glad you're okay.
I am.
So I thank Davis for JP, who encourages both neighbors and strangers to have each other's backs like she had his.
We are stronger as a community. If you see something happen in the neighborhood, can you be an active participant, right? An active protector, right? Can you come out and, like, all she did was yell, and literally kids started scattering.
In the district, I'm Liana Golden, 7 News.
That's a good story. That's a good story, and it ended out well with nobody was seriously injured. Nobody was seriously injured. Nobody had any injuries. I hope they can catch these individuals. but chances are they probably won't. This is DC. People do goofy shit like that all the time, and the cops are just kind of oblivious, and it's just difficult to do. He probably didn't get a good look at their faces. They'll look at surveillance. The quality of surveillance a lot of times is trash. Now, again, this is the DC episode, so we stand in DC. Before we jump into our next video, this is an interesting question. Y'all probably know my answer because I'm sure I said it before on this channel. Do we think there should be age limits for people to run for and hold a political office? Should there be an age limit? Let me know in the comments a yes or no. Because I think of it as like my father. My father is 75, going on 76, and he's actually very sharp. Like, mine sharp as a trap. And I'm like, man, my pops is, he pretty sharp. He holding up good at 76. But he does tell me the same story 2 or 3 times. I was telling him that today. I said he doesn't do it often, but if it's something that he's really excited about, he'll tell me on day 1, and then I'll talk to him on day 3, and he'll tell me the story. And I used to be like, you already told me that, but now I just be like, really? For real? Oh, man, that's interesting. But should there be an age limit? No age limit? You don't think so? I don't know. I'm a proponent that there should be an age limit on a person's ability to run for and hold an office. I'm getting tired of seeing like Mitch McConnell can't even walk and he falling over, and congressmen who clearly have lost some of their mental faculties, who's making decisions for them? Like, honestly, that shit is kind of elder abuse. Like, some of those politicians, they in their 80s and 90s, they have no clue what's going on. Their staffers are pretty much their home health aides. And when they voting on stuff, it's probably coming from the powers that be, the party, anywhere but a free, coherent mind. So I'm generally for age limits. Now, I'm not ridiculous. I'm not going to say like 60. No, 60 is not really old to be running. But when you start getting like 72, like we had President Biden and President Trump vying over who was the president, and Al Gore were younger than both of them. that's actually crazy. So we're going to take a look at DC, at DC's representative in Congress, Eleanor Holmes Norton. She's a staple in DC. She's been in that position since I can remember. She probably got that position before I was even old enough to vote. Let me see real quick. Let's see. When did she get in office? She was born in, no, this should be, she was born in 1937. Politician, human rights lawyer, activist. That's a long, yeah. Literally, this is crazy. She's been in Congress since she's elected in 1990. I'm old as hell. When I was 9, when I was 9, you all right out there, Mikey? When I was 9, that's when she was out there elected to Congress. So I think there should be age limits. So let's take a look at a scam that was perpetrated on a DC Congresswoman, Eleanor Holmes Norton. And we know scammers target seniors because they're vulnerable. But again, this story is terrible, but I think the big takeaway is, we got to protect our vulnerable population. And it's actually doing them a disservice keeping someone in office when they don't have the wherewithal to be in office.
That breaking news you are seeing first on News 4. DC police confirming they're investigating a case of credit card fraud
against Delegate Eleanor Holmes Norton. Thank you for joining us for News 4 at 4. I'm Erica Gonzalez. Anyang has the evening off. An internal police report obtained by News 4 describes Norton as having dementia. The report details how suspects were able to enter her home yesterday and access her credit card before a person the report described as a caretaker put a stop to it. News 4's Mark Seeger.
Once you're, I'm all for people having the ability to run for office and represent their constituents, but at some point in time, the shit is getting a little ridiculous. Interesting. Yeah, term limits would work too, but I don't know if it would solve the problem. Because I think what we see a lot of times is like a party will just put somebody who they know play ball in office, and that person who played ball may be like 1,000 years old. But I'm not opposed to term limits either. So I think that's actually a good point. Good point. What's going on, Molly? I appreciate you tuning in as well. All right, let's go ahead and see how these people attempted to finesse our congressional representative.
Graves broke that story on social media. Mark has a response tonight from Norton's office and the details that you'll see only on 4.
According to 2 separate police reports, officers were called to Eleanor Holmes Norton's home just blocks from the U.S. Capitol yesterday afternoon. Both reports detail how an employee of Norton's reported the Congresswoman had been the victim of credit card fraud. The public report identifies the person who called police as Jacqueline Pelt. Pelt is a longtime friend and campaign manager for Norton. News 4 obtained a more detailed internal report written by the 1st District Watch Commander, who was one of the officers who responded to the incident. According to that internal report, the person reporting the crime is only identified as Norton's caretaker/power of attorney. The internal report says the caretaker was not at the home, but noticed through a security camera that a cleaning crew was in the Congresswoman's home and asked.
They actually were able to get inside of her house. Just know that criminal impersonation in a lot of jurisdictions, to include the district, posing as a legitimate business is a felony. Elder fraud, I know in D.C., but in a lot of states they have vulnerable adult statute enhancements. So when a crime is committed against a vulnerable population, elderly person, a child, enhanced penalties can be tacked on for targeting those populations. And if she's there by herself, I'm gonna be honest, I don't even know if she has the wherewithal to actually be able to verify the credentials of the people who are saying or asserting that they're there to perform housekeeping services or whatever it is. Like,
asked them to leave. The internal report says the caretaker then went to Norton's home and flagged down a D.C. police officer. A spokesperson for Norton confirms Pelt was the person who notified police, but tells News 4 she's not Norton's caretaker. The spokesperson would not say whether Pelt has power of attorney for Norton, as stated in the internal police report. The internal report says the suspects charged more than $4,000 on Norton's credit card for work they did not perform. The internal report goes on to say Congresswoman Eleanor Holmes Norton of D.C., 88 years old, black woman, suffers early stages of dementia.
Like, these people were able to finesse their way just by using a little bit of gamesmanship into her home. Thank God it wasn't there. It wasn't to commit an atrocity or some type of heinous crime. But I don't know. We gotta make sure we protect the people who we look out for, and that's difficult. She was there essentially by herself. That lady says she's not a caretaker. We don't know if she has a caretaker. If so, where her caretaker was at the time. But I don't know. Like, that's a terrible story, but I think it shows in those latter years, like, I don't want to be, I don't know. I think that's like elder abuse, bro. Like, when somebody is taking what was the Democratic Congresswoman who passed away, and she was pretty much like, they pretty much had to prop her up Like, and she was like actually worse than how Joe Biden was. They actually had to prop her up, and like she had no clue what was going on. Like, that shit is elder abuse, and we shouldn't have officials representing constituents when they don't have the capacity to handle their own affairs. That's just kind of my take on it. I said the same thing during the presidential debate. I was like, Biden not looking too tough. I mean, but to be fair, Trump not looking too great either in some instances. But Biden was just falling every week. The shit was looking really ridiculous. So I'm a proponent of age limits, but I think the big takeaway from this story is, hey, if you got loved ones out there who are seniors, you got to lock in with them. You got to check on them because they are going to be susceptible and vulnerable because they aren't as sharp. A lot of times they may not be as sharp as they once were. And I know my great grandmother signed her house over to the state where like we actually had to go to court. My great grandmother, like, she was like 103. And she lived on her own till she was like, till like the last 6 months of her life, because she could do everything on her own. And she was sharp, but as she was getting older, the state sent like a older, heavyset white guy there. And my grandmother is like a generation removed. My great grandmother was like a generation removed from like sharecropping, right? So she's seen some crazy shit in her life. So they sent the white guy over to try to con her into signing something. And she just inherently was like, I'm not signing it. I don't trust you. And so what did they do? The government actually sent over an older black guy. They knew the white guy. My grandma was like, nah, I ain't signing nothing over to you. I don't trust it. They sent the older black guy over, and he, put on some charm and made her feel comfortable and buttered her right on up. And the next thing you know, she had signed away like the rights to her actual physical home. We had to like go to court and get all of this stuff figured out. And she had caretakers who were there. She had 2 caretakers who would come in the morning and the evening, and the family member was there. But at that one point in time, it was like a 30 to 45 minute break when no one was there, and they kind of came in and finessed it. So, we got to look out for our loved ones because people out here are crazy as hell. Now, let's get off of D.C. because I talked about D.C. enough. There's a lot going on between the furloughs and snaps and insurance costs going up and a whole bunch of other crazy stuff. Let's get off DC and let's go 45 minutes up the road to Baltimore. Now, this is actually an interesting story. There's an interesting story of fraud because I never seen fraud in this context before. So let's check out this story of an inmate who committed fraud. But in particular, let's notice the type of fraud he committed. It was very unusual, but I understand completely why he was trying to commit it.
Big story we're following this afternoon. A man serving a life sentence for the murder of a Baltimore City police officer now facing new charges in what was a scheme to get out of prison.
Okay, because as soon as I heard this, I was like, wait, he got life? Why he trying to commit fraud? Why the fuck he trying to commit fraud? Because I'm thinking fraud like, he trying to get some money, like defraud a program. Why you trying to commit fraud? Like, how much money do you need on your books, sir? Like, I was like confused. But then I heard this, I was like, okay, all right, now I'm tracking. You're trying to commit fraud so you can get out of your life sentence. Okay, now it's making sense. So I'm not judging him as harshly because I'm like, okay, it looks like he put some thought into this.
Prosecutors say Brandon Grimes used outside help to concoct a plan to falsify a ballistics report and then get released.
That's actually crazy. The weapon that he utilized to commit this crime against this Baltimore City law enforcement official who he deleted and now he's serving a life sentence for, he came up with a scheme to create a fake ballistic report to have that accepted as actual new evidence so he can get out of his conviction. So you're like, well, okay, that's crazy, but there got to be a monetary part. Now listen to where the monetary part comes in, because there's always the monetary part to fraud.
They also say he was trying to defraud the state out of more than $1 million.
Hey, WJZ investigator Mike Halgren live.
Do y'all know how he was trying to defraud the state out of $1 million? Y'all let me know. Y'all let me know. How do you think he was trying to defraud the state out of $1 million? Just before we go into the story, I want to see if y'all can figure this out. Let me know. It's actually very interesting. I've never seen it before. He killed a police officer. He's serving a life sentence. He worked with someone on the outside to create a fake ballistics report to get out of custody from underneath this life sentence. And he tried to defraud the state of Maryland out of almost $1 million. Anybody know takers on how? When y'all hear, y'all gonna laugh. You're gonna be like, later, this dude can't say he wasn't trying. You gotta give him an A for effort.
$1 million.
And WJ's investigator Mike Halgren live with this exclusive tonight. And Mike, break down what happened.
Rick, Nikki, according to charging documents, Grimes faked a ballistics report to try to show that it was not him, but someone else who killed Detective Troy Chesley back in 2007. He not only wanted to gain his freedom, but hundreds of thousands of dollars in payments for the state for a wrongful conviction.
That's actually hilarious. I've never, that's actually crazy. Do y'all hear how crazy that is? Like this. Real quick, we gonna get back to the video. So he tried to make fake ballistic evidence to prove that the firearm used wasn't actually the firearm he possessed, or vice versa, so he could get from under this charge. But after he make these fake ballistics documents to get out of custody, then he was going to file a lawsuit against the state for wrongful incarceration to try to get millions of dollars back from the state government. This dude actually crazy as hell. Like, yeah, they need to. He already in there for life, but yeah, this dude definitely needs to be punished because now he's trying to finesse the system and fuck over the taxpayers. Not to mention he a lowlife who took somebody's life.
2007. He not only wanted to gain his freedom, but hundreds of thousands of dollars in payments for the state for a wrongful conviction. The charging documents read like a movie script. Brandon Grimes, serving life without parole for the murder of Baltimore City Detective Troy Chesley almost 18 years ago, was trying to do whatever he could to get out of prison, where he was serving a life sentence without the possibility of parole. Detective Chesley was killed during a robbery while he was off duty. In that violent attack, he managed to shoot at Grimes, who survived. Fast forward to last March, when Grimes, imprisoned at the North Branch Correctional Institution in Cumberland, filed paperwork that he was innocent of the murder, alleging an assistant state's attorney had turned over to Grimes various pieces of newly discovered evidence she found. Among those documents was a ballistics report she claimed she found in a box somewhere.
Wait, what? Hold on, let me rewind that back. Because he worked with a third party. You have to work with somebody on the outside to even make this potentially plausible.
This attorney had turned over to Grimes various pieces of the Branch Correctional Institution in Cumberland, filed paperwork that he was innocent of the murder, alleging an assistant state's attorney had turned over to Grimes various pieces of newly discovered evidence she found. Among those documents was a ballistics report she claimed she found in a box somewhere. It alleged BPD suppressed that ballistics report, and a document labeled confidential showed Grimes was shot by the same weapon that killed Detective Chesley and therefore could not be his murderer. Prosecutors say it did not take them long to unravel the scheme. The style of the ballistics report was not authentic, the property numbers didn't match, and the two firearms experts listed in the faked report never worked on the real thing.
So he had somebody helping him on the inside to even get this far. And they just said the ballistic experts never worked on the actual case, but they were in fact ballistic experts. A lot of times, these type of ballistic forms are just standard forms, but these forms change over time. So the form that he used was probably 100% a different document than the ballistic form that was used 18 years ago. Not to mention, if you're looking at a ballistic reports, and at some point someone has to sign that ballistic report if it's original, there's a way you can actually date how long something has been written in ink, if it's a signature or a particular document. There's actually tests that can be done to say, hey, the ink on document A is potentially X years old, or something to that effect. So this was actually a dumbass idea. I would love to know who he was working with to get this crap as far as he got it, because they need to be in custody as well.
Authentic, the property numbers didn't match, and the 2 firearms experts listed in the faked report never worked on the real thing. Authorities were later able to determine Grimes convinced a woman he met on Facebook that he is the victim of a miscarriage of justice.
Oh my God. See, yeah, I don't watch all these videos until I actually go through them. I may watch like the first 10 seconds or something. This dude met somebody on Facebook. Hey, shout out to him for being able to convince this woman to do something stupid.
Grimes convinced a woman he met on Facebook that he is the victim of a miscarriage of justice. In recorded calls from prison, he laid out the plan to falsify the ballistic.
And now they got the recorded calls on prison. This is actually wild.
Report telling her, "My fight is to get the expletive out of here." He planned to get money from the state for a wrongful conviction to the tune of more than $1.4 million, documents state, and told her, "When I get this exoneration money, I'll make sure you don't work again." Prosecutors allege he later connected with an unidentified person to assist in fixing the ballistics report, saying his homeboy can do everything you need. If you need a birth certificate changed, he can do that. In recorded conversations, the unknown man repeatedly assures Grimes, making statements to the effect of, "I got you, I got you." Authorities then moved in. City State's attorney.
This is some stupid shit. They need to make sure they lock her ass up and everybody who helped in this farce to get this convicted killer, or try to attempt to get this convicted killer out of custody.
Ivan Bates personally requested Grimes be moved to a lockup in Baltimore, where he is facing these new charges. Detective Chesley's memory has been honored over the years by the city, including a street renamed for him in 2021. Now, the case is moving forward with a motion for a speedy trial, and it's next set to go before a judge on November 24th. Live in your corner in Southeast Baltimore, Mike Helgren, W.
November 24th? Damn, this dude on weekend Thanksgiving. Well, for him, there's nothing else they could do to him. He already got a life sentence, so he's just gonna eat another conviction. But hey, shout out to that young lady who, I don't know if she was either greedy or in love or both, but she needs to be gone. Everybody involved in this farce actually needs to be gone. This is very stupid. On the intelligence meter of committing fraud, this is, on a scale of 1 to 10, this is like a -2. This is actually stupid. Like, it's impossible to play this out. The only way you could possibly do this, like, you would have to have, like, the attorney general in on it to actually be able to facilitate this and have some small, minute possibility of even getting away with it. That's actually a crazy ass story. All right, now this next story is perfect for Halloween. I know y'all saw the thumbnail, and y'all familiar with the PURGE movies. The PURGE movies is if you aren't familiar, is a concept where, like, in the future they made it legal where one day a year you can have a purge, like crime is legal, murder is legal. So this one day a year, wealthy people, they fly off to some island, or they got these high-speed purge home defense systems. But shit get real on that purge day. People go out and try to knock their enemies off or make a big bag and rob some people, or they just try to delete people. So let's take a look at this video to see what happened in a nice suburban area of Virginia to a homeowner, and how this homeowner was in some fear of her safety.
We're back now with what first appeared to be a Halloween prank on a family in Virginia that took a terrifying turn and was all caught on camera. You got to bring those details to us, Lara.
Rob, just imagine going to your front door, seeing what looks like 3 kids in Halloween costumes. A little early, but not a big deal. But soon it becomes very clear these kids are not looking for some candy. It got scary very quickly. This morning, police investigating this chilling video captured on a Ring doorbell camera, showing 3 people in Halloween costumes outside a home in Alexandria, Virginia, late Tuesday night. The 3 apparently laughing at first, but then their actions quickly become more sinister as the people inside refuse to open the door.
Open the door! I'm gonna count to 10. If this door doesn't open, we're gonna come in. 1, 2, 2.
I said Happy Halloween when they first came, asked them to get off the property. When they didn't, that's when I realized it wasn't a joke anymore.
Our affiliate, WJLA, speak.
Okay, now right there, just from that snippet of what's going on, at nighttime, would that be enough? And I'm assuming this sister was in there by herself because they didn't have a picture of like her and her husband or boyfriend or something. So I'm assuming that she was in there by herself, unless this video shows me otherwise. How fearful would you be in that exact moment? Just for what we saw for, on a scale of 1 to 5, 1 being like, whatever, I'm not worried about it, or 5 being like, yo, I'm actually shook that they coming in here and are going to try to harm me. Where would you fall on that scale?
When they didn't, that's when I realized it wasn't a joke anymore.
Our affiliate, WJLA, speaking to Shayla, one of the family members inside.
They tore the whole thing down.
She says the trio made its way to the backyard, destroying her fence. And
okay, now it's elevated. The fence is closed. It looked like they ripped that bitch off the hinges. You see the nail or the screw coming out. The wood broke. So now they knock on the front door. They acting wilding out at the front door. They rip down the damn fence, come through the back door. On a scale of 1 to 5, 1 being not really an issue, 5 being like, yo, I'm actually scared that they may come in here, or I'm in some reasonable fear that they're going to try to harm me.
Damaging a backdoor screen.
They came through there, and that's how they entered to get to our door to be able to knock on the back door.
Police are now working to identify the individuals.
We're going to take every step once we identify them to prosecute them to the fullest extent of the law.
What at first was seen as an unnerving prank, police now say was an attempted burglary.
Going around to their backyard, destroying property, really brings alarm and transitions from a prank to a criminal offense. And we take these incidents seriously.
Really scary. And the chief says people should not be made to feel unsafe in their homes. But Shayla, who stays in the home with her mom, says that's exactly how they felt.
All right, so they in the house with it's just her and her mother. Her mother is probably a senior. Like in the last story we talked about, her mother's probably a senior. Mal, you said a 5. I think that's a fair point. The well-armed have no fear. Well, there could be a little bit of fear. Fear of like, okay, after I do this, what could potentially happen? But so let's talk about this, all right? Let's just say hypothetically, all right? Now, I got an update to this story. But it's just this woman and her mother in the house, nobody else. And we saw 3 people, I think. 3 people at the front door. They banging on the front door, ring the doorbell, saying they coming in. Then they go rip the goddamn back gate down. They go to the back door, and the report said they were banging and kicking on the back door. If somebody's banging and kicking on the back door, I'm assuming you kicking, trying to kick my door in. That's just me. Now, let's say hypothetically, what would your position be if this were the fact pattern? They rip the hinges off the back gate. They come in. They kicking on the back door. Boom, boom, boom. The person inside doesn't know if they're just hitting on the door, if it's a joke. They already said that they're going to come in if you don't open the front door. So they're probably thinking they're going to come in. If that person in the house fired a shot through that back door, hit one of them and killed them, if you were sitting on a jury and you heard those facts, would you find the person guilty of, let's say they were charged with murder? Now, remember, we talk about use of force here a lot. For use of force, generally, you have to have a reasonable fear of severe bodily harm, immediate severe bodily harm, or death. Is normally, that's the standard. Like, you got to be like, yo, is actual immediate fear of me losing my life or being really fucked up, severe bodily harm. Do you think that's met? Now, some jurisdictions, they kind of goofy. They'll be like, oh, you were in the home and you could have retreated upstairs. But let's just say it's not one of those retreat jurisdictions where there's no duty to retreat. It's one of those jurisdictions where your home is your castle. If you were sitting on the jury, that lady shot through the door, hit one of them, took their ass out. She was subsequently charged with a second-degree murder. Let's say it wasn't intentional, it wasn't premeditated or deliberate. would you actually believe that her fear of death or severe bodily harm has some immediacy to it? I think so. I think so. I think under those circumstances, they say open up or we're coming in. They broke down the gate, like ripping that bitch off the hinges. Then they proceed to go to the back door of the house. The fact that it was multiple persons. So this lady inside, she doesn't know if it's people at the front door, if it's people at the back door. I think that could be a very interesting case or decision for a jury to make. Just on those facts, I would probably give that person like, hey, they was doing some wild shit. Now, listen to this update. The update is actually stupid. Should I play the video or we're just going to talk it through? So this was trending on the news for about a week. Cops were looking for these people all over. Well, lo and behold, cops figured out who the assailants of this act was. The assailants of this act were family members of the victim who were trying to play a prank on her. How fucking stupid is that? It was this lady's family members, some family members who thought it would be a funny idea to prank her by doing this shit, ripping her shit off the hinges. That lady mother could have had a heart attack from this shit or something. She could have had a heart attack from this shit. That's an actually stressful situation to be in. Her family members thought that this was funny and it was a prank. The only reason law enforcement found out, as the case got bigger and bigger, they finally decided to go turn themselves into law enforcement, which was dumb because they should have turned themselves into law enforcement before it actually became a newsworthy thing and it was all over the fucking news. But people are very stupid. I ain't even gonna lie to you. Sometimes when I hear like stupid things, I be like, man, this is because I read the article at first and I didn't like see the video footage, and I was like, man, I know this wasn't no black people doing this. Then when I saw it, I was like, this is black people playing these dumb games. Normally, I feel like normally we don't play those games like that. Like normally we want. Maybe it's just me. I don't know. Maybe I'm a different type of black person. But like, I don't see nobody in my family being like, yo, no, you know what would be funny? Hey, y'all, let's go to Marcus' house a couple days before Halloween. Put on this mask. Then we're gonna bang on this door. Then we're gonna rip his gate off the hinges and go through the back door. I just don't see any of my family members thinking that would be an idea that would end up favorably for them. But hey, this was family members. Now, of course, charges will not be filed because once she figured out that it was her dumbass family members, she didn't want to press charges. Yeah. That's the assumed as a jurisdiction question your ability to discern real threats and act accordingly is when that jurisdiction no longer supports your right. Time to move. I like that statement. Yo, that's actually a bar, bro. Shout out to you. Hey, Paul. Hey, that's actually a bar. I like that. I think in that situation that I think that there is some immediacy there. I think that it's reasonable for that woman in that instance to be in reasonable fear of death or severe bodily harm, just from what they said. But I think the biggest factor is multiple assailants. When you got 3 people now, and most people only got 2 entrances, maybe 3 to their home, she don't know if it's someone at the front door, if it's someone at the back door. She probably looking on a camera, but she probably in there wilding out. Like, I just don't think, if I'm sitting on that jury and that lady would have fired a shot through her back door and hit one of her dumbass family members, I'm just like, she was genuinely fucking scared. Like, even Molly stated that on a scale of 1 to 5, she would have been a legit 5 scared. It's just her in there and her mother. They probably in there with no firearms or anything to that effect. So, you know, I don't know. Sometimes when you play stupid games, you win stupid prizes. We've seen people like knock on people's doors ridiculously, kicking on the door, and they end up getting shot. This is that same situation, but actually elevated because they have on masks. They're actually overtly making threats, and these threats are on camera. So yeah, your family, they need to do better, and that was pretty stupid. But yeah, Let me see if I can find it was one more story I wanted to show real quick. I may not be able to find it. If I can't find it, we'll save it for another day. Nope, it's not readily available, so we're gonna have to save this one for another day. But yeah, the bottom line is leave people the fuck alone. I say this in every video. You could avoid a lot of problems if you mind your business and leave people the fuck alone. Sometimes you don't gotta intervene in everything. If you want to intervene and be a good Samaritan, that's a great thing to do if that's what you choose to do. Just be aware if you choose to intervene in an interaction, you have no clue how that person is actually going to react. Yo, that's it for this video. I tap in with y'all on Friday. Friday Halloween, ain't it? Isn't Friday Halloween? Yeah, Friday's Halloween. So I think we're gonna do something Friday. We'll start at a normal time, which is later than usual, probably between 9 and 10 o'clock. As always, I appreciate everybody in the chat who tuned in, everybody who's watching this, who's watching on replay, the channel members. Hey, AA Legal Focus, y'all make sure y'all go check out her content. Great content. She breaks down trials and does attorney reactions as well. Really great content. And a friend, a family member of the channel over here, Lisa J. Stocks. Great advice. Hey, Lisa, it was actually great. One of my homegirls, I thought about you when I saw this. I was like, oh man, this is cool. I wanted to post it for her, but I know she didn't give it to me to post it. But she became a 401k millionaire. She showed me the screenshot of her 401k today that hit $1 million. 25 years of government service. She got $1 million in her 401k. I thought that was dope. As always, y'all have a good one. Y'all be safe. Be blessed. Have a good night. Peace.